If you were an ancient Roman emperor, you'll be able to decide the fate of the gladiator, whether he would live or whether he would die. If he were to die, he would be going through the west entrance down there, which is the gate of death. If he were to live, he'll come the same way he came in, through the gate of life. Right now, we are in the Ancient Roman Colosseum. It's been here for 2,000 years. And this is a 360 VR video, so you can watch in any single direction you would like. Right here, what we're looking at is what used to be underneath the arena. And this was the area where animals would come out, hoisted up through trapdoors, and come out onto the arena. Usually that would be in the morning for the animal hunt. All the animals featured here were from nearby regions, but also very exotic regions. They had, of course, wild boars, which you can find here in the Italian peninsula and also nearby in Greece. But they will also have elephants sometimes. They will have lions. They will have very exotic animals. And usually people would be hunting them. One guy will apparently kill 22 animals in only one hunt, one morning. He's one of the more famous ones. Also, gladiators would come out here, and sometimes they would come out of nowhere. Now, according to rumor, this was also flooded in order to become a huge naval battle arena as well. No one knows if that's exactly 100% for sure, but a lot of people think that is indeed the case. So you can just imagine them plugging up all the fountains that might have been available here within the Colosseum, and this flooding up and putting these huge ships. Here we see some of the lettering. Now, there were 80 main archway entrances. You would receive a ticket if you were any of the main people attending the show. Now, how many people could fit over here? Officially, it was 50,000, but there's a lot of evidence to show that there could have been up to 80,000 people crammed inside here like sardines. Now, for context, the largest stadium in the world currently is the one in Brazil, and there's 98,000 people that could fit in. So 2,000 years ago, the Romans were almost on par with modern times. What was the seating arrangement? Well, there was 4 levels. First level is right over here, and this is where the emperor would have sat, doing the thumbs up or doing the thumbs down. He would be accompanied with senators, his own family, other nobles. Also, there would be the Vestal Virgins sitting also in this first level. The second level was knights, people of high rank in terms of warriors and soldiers. Third level was the ordinary Roman citizen, and sometimes it would be split up into 2 levels. So you would have the upper class citizens on the lower level, and then a little bit higher you would have the lower class citizens. And then on the 4th level was relegated to the lowest of society, women. Yeah, unfortunately, women were relegated to sit all the way up there. Things have changed, luckily. Now, how would they prevent themselves from baking underneath the hot sun? Well, they would have gigantic awnings. And these awnings, no one knows how big they were, but some people think that they were big enough to cover the entire Colosseum all at once. They would be hoisted by ballards, which were available outside. But actually, before I go to the rest of the Colosseum, let's show you here. A lot of people are going to miss this. But we have some old graffiti. And I don't know how old this is. Some of these might be fairly recent, but who knows? Some of these might date back maybe to World War I and World War II. Maybe they'll date back to the 1800s if we see some older letterings. So I can imagine how much Roman graffiti is available everywhere. All right, let's go around into the Colosseum. Let's check it out. Let me go up here, show you more seating. And there is also an underground tour, which is nice. I also have a 360 video VR video of the underground. You can check that out if you would like. Let's go over here. Let me peek in over here. And that way is underground. So this would be the Gate of Life. Apparently there were barracks, which is where gladiators would live and also store their weapons and train, which was right out here. And then late at night, maybe some high-class Roman women would solicit the company of a very famous gladiator. And of course, it will always be for a price. Now let me put on my mask so we can walk into the inner area. Alright, let's go. Maximus, Maximus. It's so impressive that this is standing 2,000 years later. Now, what is the building material here? Two main types, travertine and concrete. These huge blocks would actually be numbered when they would come over here, because travertine was brought over just a few miles away from Rome. So the people who were constructing knew exactly where to put it. And they would weld them together or screw them together using iron rods. Now here are the Corinthian columns, which you would see a lot of them. And here's the layout of the Colosseum. That's how it looked fully constructed. 80 entrances, the niches had statues. The top area would also be covered. And then we see the area for all the awnings, and then stairways connecting everything. Now things are getting very full. So I'm going to give you a run through the museum and highlight a few of the special bits. Scusa. Too many people. So of course there will also be mosaics on the floor. This was really well decorated. Today we see this kind of brown structure that half of it is missing. I'll get to why later. But it was just all immensely decorated and colored. Scusa.
Mindjárt jön egy nagyon klassz modell, vagy makett.
The first one, the one closer to the arena, was for the senators. Behind them there were the nobles, patrices in Latin. Then, and this is the only mistake.
recreation of how the stadium looked like. And you can see that there were statues on each of the archways. Now, what was this before the Colosseum? Well, before Vespasian took over, there was first the War of Four Emperors, but before switching emperors every few months, there was Emperor Nero. Emperor Nero owned most of this. Oh, we gotta go back this way. That's the emergency exit. Emperor Nero owned this land. This land was conveniently cleared during the Great Fire of Rome of 64 AD, where, according to legend, Emperor Nero was playing his lyra and singing as Rome burned down to the ground. He built his gigantic palace over here, the Domus Aurea. Right here, where we're standing in right now, used to be this huge man-made lake. And that's where he was able to frolic about as the Roman people suffered. Of course, Rome did not like this, and they threatened to overthrow him. Thus, Emperor Nero, in order to save himself some face, maybe save himself some anguish and torture, decided to kill himself. He was ended up replaced by Vespasian, who was a great military general. Vespasian decided to do something for the people and build this huge arena in order for them to have some entertainment. But the entertainment was very far from being lighthearted. The entertainment involved animal hunts, as I mentioned, countless animals being slaughtered, some of them virtually sacrificed. And then as well included public executions, prisoners of war, and lastly included gladiatorial games of all sorts and kinds. Some gladiatorial games were highly unfair, and it was mostly just to do a glorified execution. Some gladiatorial games were merely meant for entertainment, so everyone would survive and both of them would not be so terribly injured, like a glorified MMA fight. And then, of course, some did result in death. But why is half of the Colosseum missing? Let's take a better look over here.
You were scared anyway, you had to fight.
So this wasn't always called the Colosseum. The reason it got a Colosseum was because Emperor Hadrian, and then subsequently there was a huge, gigantic colossus, a massive statue, right in front of the Flavian Amphitheater. That's the official name. Flavian being of the dynasty of Flavius, Vespasian, Titus, and Domitian. And an amphitheater meaning a double-sided theater, not just semicircular like Greek theaters, but both ways. So Middle Ages comes, Christianity has taken over. They tried to sanctify this stadium so it would no longer be associated with pagan beliefs. And that's why there's a gigantic cross down there. Let's go over here. But beyond that, in the Middle Ages, construction was tough. They didn't know much of the construction techniques of ancient Rome. Rome itself dwindled in population. When there used to be 2 million, up to 2 million people here, it might have gone down to about 50,000, maybe even less. So they quite didn't have the infrastructure to build things like this on a grand scale. Also, they didn't have the access to building materials like these concrete and also travertine stones. So the people of the Middle Ages used this to quarry. And they took it down piece by piece. Luckily, they first stuck with only one half. And that's why half of the Colosseum to this day is missing. Because they wanted to build something else. They wanted to build churches, maybe their own homes. Who knows what they built with it? There's a lot of things they built with it. It's like saying the Empire State Building 400 years from now, they decide to pull a few floors because they want a few extra concrete blocks and steel beams. That's exactly the comparison. But it's still marvelous and impressive that this is still standing 2,000 years later. And you can still see the overall shape. You can get a sense of how it was to be at these games. And you can get really a sense that most arenas are like this. Same shape. The design hasn't really changed. Same type of seating, stadium seating. Same type of archway entrances and staircases and tickets where you would have what archway entrance you're supposed to go on. Also bleacher seats. The only different thing is, as I mentioned before, women now can sit everywhere, which is a great advancement of society. So let's extend the selfie stick a little bit more so you can get a really epic sense. So you can just imagine Maximus, Maximus, Maximus. Wow, impressive. Let me show you just a little bit more over here. This is the Roman Colosseum. Thank you everyone so much for tuning in. If you're watching this before it's available publicly, thank you so much for your contribution. You allow Urbanist to keep on running so I can keep showing you wonderful places like this. If you want to see more of these videos immediately when they're posted, you can become a patron, patreon.com/Urbanist. Press that join button on YT or that become a supporter button on FB. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching when it's open publicly. Keep being awesome. Always keep on exploring. Have a great day, everyone. Arrivederci.